share a very short dream that illustrates how lucid dreaming can lead you to this experience of how you can actually have a closer view of the kinds of things that certainly come from extensive meditation and practice and that. But you can also, in a lucid dream, say, I want this dream not to be what I want, not what the dream ego wants, it's what I'm used to wanting, but to say, I'd like to be shown something that's beyond myself. I want to be guided by whatever guru source of wisdom is in me, something that knows better than I, in the limited self. That's what I want to be shown. And so for me, I formulated that as I want to have an experience of the highest potential. And so here I'm going directly into a lucid dream one morning. I find myself driving down the road. It seems as if I just got in my little sports car and on the way to Stanford, because everything is green and the golf course and all is vividly beautiful. And I'm driving down the road and I see off to the side there an attractive hitchhiker. And my first impulse is to think, well, I could stop, pick her up, etc., But then I remember that I've already had that dream. and that what I want is beyond that. It's the highest potential. Now, the moment I make that little bit of renunciation, so I give up something, it's sort of a direct pleasure of a lesser sort. Say, all right, that's not what matters. Here's, remember. And so I have to deliberately do that. The car now and I start to fly into the air. And as we fly upward into the clouds, through the clouds, there are symbols of traditional religion. Star of David, a steeple with a cross on top of it. But it's basically, there's religion in these clouds. And I fly higher and the car disappears. The vehicle of the car is gone, and so is the vehicle of my body now is fallen away as well. So I go beyond that into whatever's beyond all that. It's an emptiness, this inner outer space. It's going into this vast space that is empty, and surprisingly, amazingly, it feels like homecoming. What's this? I had forgotten all about this state, this presence, this level of being that has always been here. It still is. Where is it? Not over there somewhere. It's here. I just haven't seen it. I've forgotten about it. Overwhelmed with joy, just singing songs of praise about the bliss of how the world's so perfectly arranged. And woke up with a sense of yes, I remember the joy, and I remember the sense of harmony and connection and oneness. But much of what I knew in the dream was no longer with me. It was the esoteric component didn't come along with me when I was back on my usual beach monkey level, right? But when I interpreted this dream, say, well, what is that? That somehow was an answer to what I was asking for of the highest potential. It felt like an answer. It felt like, yes, this is something. But it was surprising. It was basically nothing, right? It was an emptiness. But the surprisingness is that nothing was more like a plenum. It was full of potential, of all being, love, and it was the source of it all. It was home somehow. And that realization also then unfolded further to say, what about death? What happens at death? We think in terms of this annihilation that Alan was referring to a bit ago, the standard Western view of what happens if you're a materialist. It's like the analogy that I'll take. So consider Stephen is a specific individual. He's a unique individual. You might say he's this particular snowflake, right? A nice, unique crystalline structure, different from everyone else, right? This one, that's me. So this flake, sees himself falling into the sea of death. There's this vast ocean. And what's going to happen? oh my God, it's the end. I'm just going to be melted, annihilated. It's the end of me, period, right? It's obvious. That's it. But maybe what happens instead is one experiences, instead of that, whatever the nothingness would be, annihilation, not feeling happy or unhappy or anything, instead, an infinite expansion of being as I remember that I wasn't just that one droplet of frozen water, but all water, the sea. You see, and that I've been identifying only with this one partial, tiny piece. It's really very lovely, isn't it? There's this crystalline form, it's unique and all that. Yes, but in comparison to the infinitude, the majesty of the sea, that is something that's easily let go of. Say, okay, maybe I continue in some other form or not, I don't know. But it doesn't matter compared to the other sense, the deeper sense of identification, a being that I experience. Say, there's something vastly more than what I thought I was.
But this realization of the vastness and
Yes.
your role into it happened in the dream or in the waking state, or
Yes.
is there a separation?
Well, they connect together because one of the things that when you have this kind of realization, it's a realization that isn't dependent on the dream. The dream was an occasion for one having an experience, but then also it's the reflection upon the experience. It wasn't just that was it and that's the whole story. What we remember, perceive is our interpretation of reality. So it's that interpretive process is important here. And so by unwrapping the package, say, all right, here was that dream that I felt. This answered the question somehow. It was what I was asking for. So now, how do I understand it? How do I make the most of what it's showing me somehow? And of course, it's not the answer, but it is an answer that provided value for me. So that value is just as much available to me in the waking state as in the dream state. The dream state gives us a special occasion where we can test realities, do things that you can't do ordinarily, you can't do because it violates the laws of physics or the laws of society. In the dream world, you have a freedom. You have your kind of sandbox where you can try out anything, not just play, but safely experiment with how to be. And from that, you can learn and apply that to the rest of your life. So by choosing to make what you decide to do in the dream, changing your frame on the circumstance, the way you experience and respond to the circumstances, as opposed to magically altering it, you then get something you could use in other states. So if I encounter an ogre in one state and I say, oh, okay, it's a dream, so I can just turn this ogre into a toad and no problem, right? Okay, maybe so, but now I'm in another life situation. It's my boss that seems like the ogre. Now, can I just turn him into a toad and that solves the problem? No, not at all. So that doesn't help. It's state specific. So let's have something instead where if I realize that by looking at this ogre with love and as any sentient being is worthy of, then why not, they change. In the dream, you see the immediate effect of what's in your heart in terms of other dream figures. They change instantly, unlike in this world where it takes more time and maybe not in a lifetime you experience this. But in the dream state, there's this perfect, instantaneous response. It's like the place where Christianity works. Love your enemies and they become your friends the moment you love them. And this is something that I really wish everybody could experience for themselves. The power of being able to transform your experience in the dream just by the genuine authenticity of love, for example. So that you're in touch with love, you know what love is, and you apply it directly, and it gives a direct result. So that, for me, is the most powerful aspect of how one can learn from the lucid dreaming in a quicker way what can happen in the rest of your life with more time and work, right? And so it's not saying, okay, I'm done, I did it. It's a lucid dream. That's it. I'm through here, right? Because you gotta. You understand that you get what you pay for, right? And in terms of spiritual as well as anything else, and if you don't keep up the payments, they take it back. So